Okay, everybody. Hey, Cleo. So I'm making this so that you guys can work on getting ready for the Chapter 5 test. So yesterday I gave you guys the Chapter 5 review. Today you guys picked up the other part of it. Remember yesterday I said that was part 2. This is actually part 1. So this is more just straightforward working through problems and solving them. So without me there, that's what I want you guys working on. So, to Miss Lomelli, if there are any questions, so they need to be working on this. This is in the note I left for you anyway, but they need to be working on this, and if they have questions on a specific problem, just go ahead and fast forward to that problem, and then just hit play. So here's how this goes. Okay, so these first 4 in each triangle, M, N, and P are the midpoints of the sides. Name a segment parallel to the one given. So this is really about the hey Cleo. This is about the mid-segment theorem. Remember the mid-segment theorem says that if I connect 2 midpoints of a triangle, that the resulting segment, the mid-segment, is both parallel to and half the length of the third side. So we are looking, number 1, we're looking for parallel to NP. So parallel to NP is going to be DE. So that's really all we're doing on these first couple. So if we're looking for WX, the answer is going to be NP. If we're given EF, we want to look at what is connecting the two, it's NP, the two sides. And if it's NP right here, it's going to be parallel to TS. See? Already we're on number 5. How easy was that? So finding the missing length indicated, again, same thing, except now we're actually really focusing not on the parallel nature of the mid-segment theorem, but rather on the fact that it's half the length. So these first couple, it's just numerical. So here we know that JK is 1/2 of EG. So JK is 1/2 of 22, or JK equals 11. In RT, we go LM is 1/2 of, of RT. So we don't know, we know that we know that 2 times LM equals RT. So we basically just multiply both sides by 2. So now we plug in the fact that we know LM is 6, which gives us RT as 12. Again, if at any time you don't understand this, simply rewind it and watch it again. What? Come here. Just sit and be quiet. So 7, we know that EG, or we're looking for EG. We know that VW is 3. So we know that 2 times VW equals EG. So 2 times 3 equals EG. Or 6 equals EG. We know that JK is 7 because GI is 14. JK is half of GI, so 14 divided by 2 is 7. 9, we are going to solve for x. So instead of just having numbers now, we need to set up the proportion and go from there. So here we have 2 times dc equals z times x. So 2 times the small one equals the large one. We can't just set them as equal to each other, because if we set them as equal to each other, we're saying they're the same length. So 2 times 2x minus 6 equals 2x plus 2. We're going to distribute the 2, and then we subtract 2x from both sides. So we have 2x minus 12 equals 2. Then we're going to add 12 to both sides. 2x equals 14. Divide by 2, and we get x equals 7. Same thing on the next one. We know that 2 times the short one, 2x minus 8, equals 3x minus 7. So we distribute the 2, and we get 4x minus 16 equals 3x minus 7. I subtract 3x from both sides. So we get x minus 16 equals negative 7. We're going to add 16 to both sides. And we get x equals 9. I put 11. That's wrong. 16 minus 7 is not 11. It is, in fact, 9. So on these next ones, we not only have to find x, but we then have to sit there and plug x back in. So 2 times x plus 14 equals x plus 21. Or 2x plus 28 equals x plus 21. Again, we set this up that 2 times the mid-segment equals the parallel side of the triangle. So we subtract x from both sides. And so we get x plus 28 equals 21. We're going to subtract 28 from both sides. We get x equals negative 7. It's totally okay that our x is negative. We just can't have the length of the side be negative. So when we go back and we say that DE or DF is equal to x plus 21, even though we have a negative x, when we plug it in, we get negative 7 plus 21, which is 21 minus 7, or 14. And 14, being the correct answer, is positive. If we ever end up with a positive or a negative length, that's a problem. So on number 12, we know that JK, 2 times that, is equal to CE. So 2x plus 24. I'm not sure why I just did that. Oh, because I'm trying to zoom. Sorry. 2x plus 24 equals x plus 18. We're going to subtract x from both sides. And so we get x plus 24 equals 18. We're going to subtract 24 from both sides. And we get x equals negative 6. Again, it's totally okay that our x equals a negative as long as our ultimate answer, in this case, the length from j to k, is negative. Here, jk is going to equal 6. Same idea with 13 and 14. 2 times the short leg, or the short segment, 23 plus x, is equal to the longer segment, x plus 35. We distribute that 2, and we get 46 plus 2x equals x plus 35. Again, we're going to subtract an x. So we have x plus 46 equals 35. Then subtract 46 from both sides. And we get x equals negative 11. So US then equals negative 11 plus 35, or 24. Number 14, we have 2 times x plus 19 equals 30 plus x. We go ahead and distribute that 2, so we get 2x plus 38 equals x plus 30. Subtract x from both sides, and we get x plus 38 equals 30. Subtract 38 from both sides, and we get x equals negative 8. And then plug negative 8 back into our equation for st, which is x plus 19. So we have negative 8 plus 19, where st equals 11. So now on these ones, on 15, we're talking about medians. So a median connects the vertex. Oops, wrong button. The vertex of a triangle with the midpoint. So on 15, M is the midpoint of, WY. So that means that the distance from W to M is the same as the distance from M to Y. So if W to Y is 12, for some reason I got that backwards. So it's actually, so if W to Y is 12, then this is 6, because it's half the length. Here, H to L is 12, and we want to find H to N. Well, if one half is 12, the other half is 12 as well. So we'd write H to N equals 12, and or 1.2, sorry, not 12, and that would be our answer. 17. So we know that V to X is 4.3. We want half of that, so we do 4.3 divided by 2. So we get H to X equals 1/2 of 4.3, or V to X. So H to X equals 1/2 4.3, or 2.15. Same general. Okay, so now number 18. So 18, we are dealing with multiple medians. And when we have more than one median in a triangle, when we actually draw them out, they intersect at a point called the centroid. Now, the centroid, aside from being the balancing point of the triangle, is also always located 2/3 of the distance between the vertex, so in this case E, and the midpoint I. What this means is if the entire length of the median, that's from E to I, was, let's say, 3, then the distance from E to B would be 2/3 of that, 2, and the distance from B to I would be 1/3 of that, or 1, okay? So that's just the ratio that they are, and that's how the centroid works. Okay, so here we have BI and EB. So we know that 2 times BI equals EB because 2/3 is twice as big as 1/3. So 2 times, or BI equals 1/2 of EB. We just divide both sides by 2. And BI then equals 1/2 of 10.4. Or 10.4 divided by 2, which gives us that BI is equal to 5.2. For 19, we need to find X. So if JU, that's the long segment, that's from the vertex to the centroid, so that's 2/3 of the entire one, JN. So we know that JU is equal to 8X, and JN is equal to 11X plus 2. Now, because I don't want to distribute with that 2/3, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to multiply by 3/2. That's the reciprocal of it. 2/3 times 3/2 is 1. So when I then multiply 8 times 3/2, I get 12x. And then on the right-hand side, because I multiply by 3/2, that coefficient is gone. So now I have 12x equals 11x plus 2. Subtract the 11x from both sides, and I get x equals 2. And that's all I was looking for. I'm looking for x. I don't have to plug it back in quite yet. So number 20, notice that we're not dealing with the centroid anymore, but we're back to dealing just with one median and how it creates the midpoint. So we know that EX and EV are equal to each other, so we can set 2x minus 7 over 4 equal to x minus 1 over 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 4, and that's going to clear the fractions. Okay, so by multiplying everything by 4, I keep it equal. But now, instead of having everything in quarters divided by 4, I now have everything just okie dokie normal. So 2x minus 7 equals x minus 1. I'm going to subtract x from both sides and get x minus 7 equals negative 1. I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and that gives me x equals 6. Same general idea for the next one. We have a median, which means that both sides are equal to each other. So 3x plus 2 over 2 is equal to 4x minus 1 over 2. We're going to multiply both sides by 2 in order to clear the fraction. And we end up with 3x plus 2 equals 4x minus 1. We subtract 3x from both sides. I know I put 4x there, but it's actually a 3x. I think I can go back and change it. See, right there. So I have 2 equals x minus 1. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I get 3 equals x. GL, again, we're given the short side and the long side again. So this is a centroid issue. So we need to identify what that relationship is. Here, we know that the distance from the centroid, in this case U, to the midpoint, L, is 1/3. So that means to get the length of the full thing, we need to multiply the short one by 3. So GL equals 3 times UL. The full median is equal to 3 times the segment from the centroid to the midpoint. So GL is 2L minus 4. UL, we're going to go 3 times x minus 3. We want to distribute that 3 first step. So we have 2x minus 4 equals 3x minus 9. Subtract 2x from both sides. So now we have negative 4 equals x minus 9. We're going to add 9 to both sides. And we get x equals 5. Okay, so I'm going to do these next two, and then we'll call it a day. Figuring that if you got that far, you probably don't need help. And figuring that hopefully, though these are helpful, they don't represent you shouldn't just be sitting there and copying down the answers. You actually need to work through the problem. That's how you learn things. So 23. First we need to find x and then plug x back in. So here we need to find UK, but we're only given HU and HK. So we know that HU and HK, so we know that HU is the long segment, HK is the entire median. So HU is 2/3 of the length of HK. That gives us x minus 1 equals 2/3 of x plus 1. So what I'm going to do here is I'm first going to multiply everything by 3. Okay, that's going to cancel out that 2/3. So we have 3x minus 3. And now I still have that 2, so I'm going to distribute that 2 and get 2x plus 2. Then subtract 2x from both sides. So I get x minus 3 equals 2. Add 3 to both sides. And I get x equals 5. Now we're not done yet because we're told that x is 5. I can now go back in and plug 5 in for, let's say, h to u, which is 5 minus 1 is 4. I know h to k is 5 plus 1, which is 6. And so that leaves me with UK being 2. So finally, GY, if GY equals x minus 2 and GX equals negative 7 plus 2x, these are the two sides cut in half by the median, so they're equal to each other. We're going to subtract x from both sides. That's going to give me negative 2 equals 7, negative 7 plus x. And then we get x equals 5. We then plug that 5 back up into gy. We know that g to y equals x minus 2, so we go 5 minus 2, where gy equals 3. Now we can always check this if we wanted to. We could go and measure g to x. That would give us, negative 7 plus 2x. So if we plugged a 5 in there, it would be negative 7 plus 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 7 is 3. And that should hopefully get you guys through today. Have a wonderful day. Have a great 3-day weekend. I will post videos on the remainder of the review this weekend. And remember, we do have a test next week. So, yeah. Have a good one. And Cleo says good night, too.